He left me and children for a younger woman online. You won't believe why he returned. I'm 40, and I want to share a deeply personal story about a decision that's been weighing on me regarding my family. I'd appreciate some outside perspective. My world turned upside down 8 years ago in Willow Springs, Idaho, when my husband, Daniel, stunned me and our children by suddenly announcing he was leaving us. He'd apparently fallen in love with someone he met online, a woman named Vivienne, whom he described as the most attractive person he'd ever seen. For weeks before, Daniel had grown distant, but I blamed it on work stress. We'd been married for over a decade, supporting each other through everything, and I had never suspected he'd be unfaithful. One night, Daniel admitted he'd met someone, Vivienne, and that their 3-month online relationship was so intense, he realized he was unhappy in our marriage. Each word from him was like a knife to the heart. He kept assuring me he still loved me and the kids, but couldn't deny his feelings for Vivienne. He said he needed to meet her in person and see if they had a real future together. I was overwhelmed with anger and despair and asked if he was really leaving us for this woman. With a slow nod, he told me he had to do what's best for him, even if I couldn't understand. Then he said he'd continue to provide for us financially as best he could, but he had to follow his heart. My world collapsed. I could barely believe Daniel was trading our family for a woman he hadn't even met in person. I wanted to scream, fight, beg him to stay, but when I looked into his eyes, I saw he'd made up his mind. There was no turning back. Daniel moved out the following week, and I was left to explain to our children, 9-year-old Lily and 4-year-old Oliver, that their dad wouldn't be coming home. Lily asked me 1,000 questions I couldn't answer. Oliver was too young to understand, but sensed something terrible had happened. I felt empty and shattered, but the kids were the only anchor that kept me from drowning in grief. When I first told my side of things, my family and friends were as shocked as I was. My parents urged me to take Daniel to court, but at the time, I was too exhausted and still holding on to hope that he would return. Daniel's parents were devastated, calling him repeatedly and begging him to reconsider. He told them the same thing he'd told me. Days turned into weeks, weeks into months, and I had to rebuild my life piece by piece for the kids' sake. Our family and friends were wonderful, offering much-needed help and support during those hard times. I focused on finding stable work and giving the kids a safe, loving home. The pain didn't fade, but I kept going. Daniel's parents helped a lot financially and watched the kids when I needed a break. In time, Daniel's presence faded to a distant memory. He sometimes sent money, but didn't keep in touch with me or the kids. I became a single mom, working nonstop to provide for Lily and Oliver and surround them with the love they deserved. Lily would sometimes mention her dad, but as time passed, she stopped bringing him up and learned not to miss him. Oliver, who had been so young when Daniel left, never really talked about him. Despite the loss, both kids grew up wonderfully. Recently, Daniel's father passed away, and we all attended the funeral. Afterwards, the family lawyer, Mr. Turner, called about the will. He explained that Daniel's father had left some money to his grandchildren. It wasn't life-changing, but it would help cover college tuition. Sharing the news with the kids, seeing their relief about not worrying for school, touched me deeply. It felt like, finally, a heavy weight had lifted. Then, last week, my phone rang from an unknown number. I was stunned to hear Daniel's voice for the first time in 8 years. A flood of mixed emotions washed over me. I was speechless. He hesitated, then said he wanted to meet urgently to discuss something. I was shocked. After so long, why now? But his pleading was hard to ignore. After collecting my thoughts, I cautiously agreed to meet him at a downtown cafe near my new office. I didn't mention it to the kids. First, I needed to know what was so important. Leading up to our meeting, I spent several anxious days replaying the past. The heartbreak, the struggle of raising the kids alone, all that lost time. I arrived early and nursed a coffee, my nerves frayed. When Daniel walked in, I barely recognized him. Older, withdrawn, almost a stranger. Our conversation was awkward, full of pauses and polite talk, dancing around why he'd really come. Eventually, Daniel took a deep breath and explained, Vivienne had not been who he thought she was. She turned out to be a single mother herself, keeping it from Daniel until he showed up on her doorstep. They had constant problems. Most of all, Vivienne's gambling addiction, which drained their money. They argued often, but Daniel sent, not wanting to abandon another woman. After his father's death, the shortness of life dawned on him. He realized how much he missed me and the kids and regretted leaving. He said that over the years, he'd thought about coming back to us but never had the courage to face us. Daniel then revealed his father had left him their large lake house, the one where we'd made so many family memories. He wanted to sell the house and use the money for a fresh start. That's when he made his unexpected proposal, that I take him back so we could give our kids a luxurious life. He promised that if I agreed, I'd never have to work again. I listened in disbelief. Daniel pushed, talking about how we could spend the rest of our days without financial worries, if only I'd let him come home. He saw this as a grand second chance, using the inheritance to build the best life for all of us. I understood the potential benefit to our family, but I couldn't erase the past, the years I'd raised our children solo, struggling each day. The thought of financial security was tempting, but I couldn't ignore the pain and anger that were still there. I firmly told Daniel that I appreciated his offer, but I couldn't forget what happened during those those 8 years. I pointed out that I'd managed on my own, working and raising the kids. Without him, we'd still built a stable life. I refused to risk our peace letting him waltz back in just because it was convenient. I couldn't trust him to not leave again at the slightest temptation. Daniel pleaded with me to reconsider, his eyes full of desperation. It was hard, thinking that saying no might mean passing up a life without financial stress. But his absence had left wounds that no amount of money could heal. After I met with Daniel, my parents urged me to change my mind, saying the least he could do was provide for us now. They argued that people could change and maybe Daniel truly regretted his mistakes. They accused me of being selfish, saying I should put the kids' comfort ahead of my own pain. I've been unable to sleep, torn between the possible financial benefit and the memory of our trauma. I haven't even told the kids about their dad's return yet. I worry how they'll react, or whether the idea of him coming back after so long would hurt them more than help. So, did I make a mistake turning down Daniel's offer? Did I deny my children a better life because I couldn't get over the pain he caused? First update. Within days, I received thousands of supportive comments. Grateful for the advice, I decided it was time to be honest with Lily and Oliver about Daniel's return. The last thing I wanted was for him to appear out of nowhere and blindside them. After dinner, I sat them down and gently explained their father had reached out and about his proposal to come home and provide for us all. Their reactions couldn't have been more different. Lily, now 17, cycled through anger, shock, and confusion. She remembered her dad, but also the pain of being left behind. She admitted she used to miss having a father but has learned to live without and doesn't want him back. Oliver, now 12, said he barely remembers Daniel and didn't care that I'd refused his offer. I told them their choice mattered too. If they wanted to see him, I'd support it. Lily was adamant. She wanted nothing to do with him. Oliver agreed, insisting that he was happy as things were. I realized that while the idea of fixing our family was tempting, their wounds were deep. Protecting my kids mattered most. Second update. Over the following weeks, Daniel's calls became increasingly desperate. Even after I firmly told him no, he kept phoning. It drained me completely, worrying he'd show up at my work or at the kids' schools. Finally, I reached out to his mother. We talked, and I told her I needed Daniel to stop contacting me. That's when she revealed the truth. Daniel's father had written a tricky condition into his will. Daniel would inherit the lake house only if he reconciled with our family, and I had to legally sign off for him to claim it. I was disgusted to learn that this, not love or remorse, was his true motivation all along. I started looking for a lawyer immediately, planning to file for divorce and legally protect myself and my children. My parents, regretful for having pushed me to consider Daniel's proposal, now support my decision. I blocked Daniel from contacting me and prepared to formally end our long-broken marriage. Third update. 2 months later came good news. I'd gotten a long-awaited promotion at work, providing the financial stability I dreamed of. The divorce process, handled by an excellent attorney, is going smoothly. I'm getting the kids into therapy to process their complex emotions, knowing that healing is a journey for all of us. Lily thrives at art, her drawings brighten our home, and Oliver shines at soccer. We don't hear from Daniel, and I believe that's for the best. Out of the blue, Vivienne, his former online beauty, messaged me. Instead of apologizing, she angrily blamed me for stealing Daniel back and ruining her life. The nerve! I let her know I wanted nothing to do with Daniel, reminded her of the pain she'd caused, and blocked her for good. Daniel's mother, still kind, told me that by refusing to sign, the lake house would not go to him, a twist his father would have approved of. We're on our way to true healing now. The kids and I are planning that trip to Universal Studios we've always dreamed of. Whatever the future brings, we'll meet it together. Did I do the right thing? What would you do in this situation? Leave your answers in the comments and subscribe to the channel Flash Story.